on the move. And it is quiet.
Yeah. You don't hear a thing.
Change gears or nothing.
There's no gears to change. It's direct drive.
Wow.
If y'all have any questions for Ryan as we're on the drive, I'm Mark Neslin with GreenPower, and Ryan is happy to answer any of the questions that, and he can answer them because it's so quiet here.
Ryan, how fast can this thing go?
65. 65.
That's limited,
But
right?
of course, in New York with 55 speed limit, we'd never think of doing 65.
Not with school children.
When you said it's rain,
Can you say anything about
Fully
safety?
That's why I said the 120. Plan for 120.
Right.
150 is a good base number with not a lot of gradability. Mild climates, California.
Sure.
So 120 is a good, really healthy baseline with air conditioning.
and how's it going to do it on hills
It'll-
with 90 passengers?
It'll do well. This is, electric vehicles have, 100% torque available at 0 RPM. So typically on a product like this, it's going to do slightly better than your diesels do. We had to actually dial this thing back as far as it would go because it was just too fast off the line. We were giving him too much gradability. So it's a fine line, right? You give yourself a lot of torque or a little bit more horsepower, and we've kind of got a fine line of 65 mile an hour top speed with reasonable gradability, but it can be adjusted for more where there's more substantial grades.
Yeah, Art was saying that you can program each bus for the type of terrain and route it has.
That is correct. Yeah.
And you said it would, assuming that 75 miles is an average daily bus route. I don't know if that's true or not around here. How long will it take to recover that 75-mile charge overnight? Presuming it charges overnight.
So 75 is a good approximate number. It's about it's about 50% of the battery pack.
Right.
If you do if you just take my whole numbers from, a full night of depot charging, right? Instead of it being 6, you're going to be right around 3, and then instead of having a 2-hour DC fast charge, it's going to be about an hour and 5 minutes.
An hour and 5 minutes to charge?
And if you use if you went 75 miles, you would have used 75 or 50% of your battery pack.
Oh, so you're saying an hour to charge on the fast charge fully from
Correct.
0 to 100,
Yes.
whatever.
So you have plenty of time then to charge from the morning to the afternoon.
Oh, absolutely. That's why school buses make so much sense.
And that's, you said DC fast charge. Doesn't that degrade the battery though if you continue to do DC fast charge?
Only if you're, it depends on what your C rate of your batteries is. Basically, it's how fast can your batteries, how long will it charge to charge your batteries at 100 kilowatts for 1 hour, right? That's how you get your C rate. These particular batteries can take 100. We only give you 60. So we don't let you, we don't let the battery pack. It's not as sexy because some people will come in and say, oh, our school bus charges in 30 minutes. Yeah, at 300 kilowatts, right? So you're really cooking them. We don't do it. It's more basic, but we think it's functional. Yes.
Is the bus configured for vehicle to grid?
So vehicle to grid is not a bus thing, right? Vehicle to grid is is one part on a bus. It's a charger that has bidirectionality, and it's an inverter. What we've learned in California, right, over the last 10 years of trying to get this off the ground, is vehicle to grid. All buses are capable of doing it now. It's how does the power go back into the grid, and how do you quantify it? The other thing is what is the discharge rate of your whatever you're going to be exporting? If you want 60 kilowatts in, do you want 60 kilowatts out? And if you want 60 kilowatts out, how do I warrant that from a battery manufacturing perspective? So vehicle to grid is there. The technology is there. There's just it's just like SAE standards. We need a standard of what we need to follow, so everybody's doing the same thing, and nobody, the playing field will be level.
Yeah, but doesn't the lithium iron phosphate help because of the energy density?
Well, lithium iron phosphate is the least. Our NMC and lithium iron titanate. There's a couple other that are very much more energy dense than what we have. Ours is cost effective, but for school buses it's safe, right? It's not a volatile chemistry. There's definitely chemistry we can put in here to get me a 250 mile range. It's going to weigh 5,000 pounds more, and it's going to cost twice as much. So this is the formula we have for this particular product, this particular function.
Thank you.
So is this bus going to be deployed at Bedford Central?
No, this bus is going to be deployed at Houston USD in California. Once it leaves here, it's going back, and I got to get it delivered before the end of the quarter.
But I meant in terms of Bedford Central using electric buses.
They haven't committed
To
to
buy
it yet.
one first.
Yeah.
This yes, first time. I hope so.
Yeah, we would like to make
Yeah.
that answer be yes.
We are accepting orders.
To that point, what is your order lead time for your average bus?
So we are building ahead of building ahead of demand, just like we have on our EV Stars. I've got 100 of these products currently in production. We just opened up a facility here on the East Coast. We're going to be doubling that production, and we're looking at other manufacturing arms in order to be able to keep up with demand. We first delivered our first school bus back in 2018, went back to the drawing board, and we realized, hey, there's a lot of arbitrary Title 13 language in there that we got to dial in. We did so we went from a 36-footer to a 40-footer, gave ourselves more carrying capacity than anybody else, bolster our battery pack by 20%, the dual charging capability, aluminum wheels, air conditioning. I know all school buses or all states don't have specs for school bus seatbelts, but because of where this bus is going, it does. But everything that you see here is part of the standard build for GreenPower. So this isn't like a fully optioned bus, and then when I bring you something or deliver, it's time to take delivery, it's a stripped down product. Everything that you see is what you get.
So for example, in Croton, we may be in the market for a mini bus to get on the road, let's say by September. Just from an order point of view, is that something that would be deliverable?
So we did just announce our a smaller variant of this bus. It's going to be a Class A product that's on the product roadmap. September would definitely be a reasonable time frame for that.
Do you have ones that are ADA compliant?
Yes.
So that with wheelchair lifts,
Only
et
on
cetera?
on the Nano BEAST. It's called the Nano BEAST.
Nano BEAST, all right.
Yeah, I know.
Question, please. In order to get NYSERDA funding for school buses, there's a requirement that an old diesel bus be scrapped of an equivalent class. What kind of bus would have to be scrapped to get funding for this bus?
So any like Bluebird Type D, from the early 2000s, late 2000s, or I'm sorry, early 2000s, late 90s would work. A Thomas bus or an old IC bus would work as well. All that they require is a gross vehicle weight rating of over 14,000 pounds.
So one of those 65 passenger buses would be sufficient to
yes.
scrap in order to get funding?
Yes.
For this? Okay, thank you.
How do you handle heating and cooling of the batteries and the passenger compartment?
So the batteries are all thermally controlled. So we've got our BMS warms and cools the batteries. Because we use lithium iron phosphate product, they have an ambient operating range of -40 up to 140 degrees. So even up here where it gets a little bit cooler than it might get in other places, even in Palm Springs where 120 degrees is it happens. The asphalt starts cooking those batteries. We keep everything either cooled or heated depending on where it's irregardless of where it's deployed. They all have the same capability. And then internally we have a hermetically sealed HVAC system. I was in West Virginia with Mark Nestlin here a couple weeks ago. It was 17, 18 degrees outside, and we got this thing up to 60 degrees in 10 minutes. So it does really well.
And that's all electric? It's not
All
gas
electric.
powered?
Correct.
Is that a heat pump or is that strip heating?
It's just the same HVAC, just like it'd be in your house.
So it is a heat pump?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Do you have numbers for our two utilities in Westchester of what it costs to charge at night and what it costs to charge during the day?
So the national average is going to be around 12 cents.
Well, Westchester is not.
Correct. I don't know what your utility rates are here. I mean, we can look it up. I use 12 cents because it's high. For a commercial rate, it is. Whatever. Does anybody know what you guys are paying for kilowatt hour?
16 right now.
16 right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Not from NYPA. Yeah.
schools and public facilities get power directly from NYPA,
Yeah.
New York Power Authority.
So what is the? It's about 16 cents.
It's less.
It's less.
It's less.
So let's take 16 though. Okay, let's just do the math on that. If I was to tell you that this product right here, it was 16 cents per kilowatt hour, you'd be looking at $32 to charge this thing from 0% up to 100%, right? You do the math on what we're paying for gasoline and diesel right now, it's 2 or 3 times that per day. Fuel savings, the 70% number that I'm giving you guys is actually very, very conservative with where fuel's at. That number was developed in the $3 price range. And when I'm in California, we're paying like $6 a gallon right now for fuel. It's like 90, but we don't expect it to be forever, so we keep it, we keep it nice and organic and not too. You don't want things to get too exciting, right?
Also,
Does it cost more though if you need to do 2 charges? Like in Yorktown, they use the buses for 4 different runs in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. So if you need to charge in the middle of the day, does that cost more?
It all depends on how the rate structure is.
Not for NYPA power. We can talk offline. I can give you numbers.
But even those runs, though, that 4 runs a day probably isn't going to get you maxed out on your range. I don't think. I mean, how many miles do you think in Bedford a run is? Does anybody?
We've asked them,
Yeah.
and hopefully they'll tell us.
It's quite a range when it's into strict
That's
hours.
your
It's
town.
loyal.
That's your
So
town.
when you go
That
to
is
special ed
Yes,
things.
yes, yes.
How you doing?
Yes, sir.
It's a little hard to hear back there. I don't know if anybody answered. How long does it take to charge the bus?
So you can charge the vehicle in as little as 2 hours from 0 to full,
Okay.
or you can charge it in just over 6 hours via depot charging. We include both ways to charge, DC and AC onboard charging. It's included on the bus.
Okay.
That kind of question
Also,
right here.
how long is the battery life?
It's about 4,000 life cycles. So that's 4,000 charges, 4,000 discharges.
But like in one full charge, how many hours?
Oh, so you never measure electric buses like that or electric vehicles. It's always going to be about the range. If I was to turn the heat on this bad boy and say it was 10 degrees outside and we just turn the heat on full blast, you're probably going to use 2 to 3 kilowatts an hour. The heater is very thirsty, right? It's very, very thirsty, but it works, right? It's probably over spec'd out. What we were seeing before is like if you have the Lions, like the PTC heaters on the floor, they just don't keep up. They don't keep up when it's 10 degrees. So this is going to give you something that's going to be functional. And again, that's why I always tell you guys to plan for 120 miles of range.
So my question really is, if I'm thinking of a school day, and if we use this bus to go to a sporting event, so it may not be equivalent of 120 miles or hours, but if a bus has to sit and we said it's always on while it's waiting for an event, so like a hockey game, for example, you drive an hour to go to the hockey event, the kids play for 2-3 hours, and so it's like sort of a 5-6 hour event.
The best example I can give you, so GreenPower Motor Company is listed on NASDAQ. I was a part of the IPO, the process of helping take the company to that point. The reason I'm telling you that story is because when we started, we had to do a non-deal roadshow in Manhattan. I had our smaller product on the road Monday through Friday, no charge, ran the heat every day, and was on the road for 8 to 10 hours. But we were only going like 10 to 12 miles throughout the entire day. So if that gives you an idea of the longevity of the batteries with the heat, and all of our products are going to be very similar. This might be a 3 or 4 day deal, right? Especially if you're cranking the heat. If you're running the air conditioner, it doesn't take as much power. Not even close.
But Ryan, if you
Yes.
just parked, you're not using energy.
Yep.
I think that's
Correct.
You don't
part
have
of
to
it.
have it on.
Yeah.
Excuse,
Right.
yeah, excuse me. So, more dense cities like Mount Vernon, New Rochelle, Yonkers, can this bus make those tight turns?
So this bus has a 37-foot turning radius, which is better than any conventional product even on the market. We've seen this bus, you know, part of my, you know, part of the joy I get out of this, you know, demonstrations, right? You do them, they all kind of become the same. But I always have a driver who tells me, oh yeah, this bus won't be able to make this turn over here. It's like, you know what, let's go do it. Or this road is so rough that this bus is gonna fall apart. All right, cool, let's go down that road. Our turning radius is second to none, and if you want to drive it just to verify,
Just out of curiosity, is the heat on now?
no, I don't have it on right now.
This has regenerative braking,
Yes, it does.
so the hills would actually help going downhill
Correct.
to
And
recharge
we
the
can-
battery a little bit.
And, yeah, and we can turn that up a bit, right? We can turn that up to make it very, you know, much more, give much more grab.
Train your bus driver?
Oh yeah,
You just drive with one pedal.
Thanks again for watching. Please subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell, like and share to help our channel grow. And below you'll find links to our website, Evolv-Electric.org, our Twitter and Instagram